Travel difficulties so many of us are experiencing this year, capped, of course, here in Israel by the entry ban imposed early this month and the closing off of several red countries for Israelis looking to go abroad. And all of that is bad news for Israel's national airline, El Al. So how will the carrier, which many see here as an indispensable asset of the Jewish state, its only reliable lifeline to the outer world in times of real crisis, cope with this current situation? Well, joining us in studio to help answer that question is Stanley Morais, Deputy Director of International Affairs for El Al. And Stanley, I think it's obvious. How is El Al coping with what is going on right now in the world and especially in Israel?
Well, Calev, it's a big challenge for us. Of course, we didn't expect this situation, especially just this time of year.
Right, the
we
holiday.
Expected a big flow of tourists to be coming in, Jewish communities from abroad, as well as Christian communities coming to the Holy Land for Israel. Those, of course, who were vaccinated. This situation has changed the situation tremendously. We maintaining our flights to those non-red countries here from Israel, Athens, flights to Athens, flights to Larnaca, flights to Phuket in Thailand, Sofia, Bulgaria, Vienna, countries that are not red, hopefully won't become red, and even flights to countries that are red, like the United States.
Right, I'm going to check. People are not going to get stuck.
So we are maintaining our flights. Other carriers have changed their schedules, canceled flights. We are maintaining our flights to New York. Flights are thinning out, of course. We're maintaining our flights to London. We're maintaining our flights to Paris, even though those countries are red. For us, at this point, it's a clear indication for the government to act, to do something to support the industry.
Well, let me ask you about that. Of course, El Al has new owners, this father and son from the United States. Just last month, the airline announced a third quarter loss of $136 million, a 69% loss over the previous quarter. Of course, that's been for all airlines, but El Al is Israel's national carrier. It's only really low domestic airline. What is El Al asking the government to do exactly?
Well, we're asking for support. Airlines around the world have received substantial financial support from their governments. Private companies, public airlines have received it throughout the United States, Canada, throughout Europe, and we're asking for the same type of support. Some sort of support in order to ensure that these decisions don't harm the industry in such a way that, again, that lifeline isn't there for Israel to the rest of the world.
Right. Now let's look at take the vantage point again of the flyers, the consumers. There's a lot of concern about people making reservations, paying for tickets, whether they'll be refunded, compensated. How is that all going to work? What is El Al's developing policy?
Well,
the situation
it's
keeps changing.
a changing policy all the time, no question. What we're doing now is for those passengers that need to cancel because of the situation and they rebook, we are giving them a credit as well as an additional for short haul flights, an extra $50 credit, and for the long haul flights, an additional $100 credit. So anything that you've paid already, you're not going to lose, and you will get something a little bit extra as a result of that during this current crisis. Of course, not everybody who's able to travel is getting authorization to leave the country. Not everybody who's able to get into the country is getting authorization to get back into the country. They have to make changes to their plans. So we are being a little bit flexible. We are understanding that the needs of the consumer is tantamount to our future, and for us, we are working hand in hand with our passengers.
Now, of course, when this initially started, the people thought, okay, it's going to be a temporary situation, there'll be a vaccine, the airlines will bounce back. But now people are wondering whether there just has to be a rethink about the business of not only international travel, also tourism. We heard what the finance minister said to tour guides recently. Is this causing a kind of rethink, strategizing within the halls of El Al?
Well, absolutely, Calev. This is 20 months that we're in this pandemic.
Unbelievable.
It's really something that is like, who would have expected it when it came to us in February 2020? Nobody expected it to be this long. We have been at the forefront at finding solutions, to finding ways to have our passengers travel in a safe environment. We were first to do some antigen testing, special testing in New York prior to their arrivals here in Israel. We are finding ways to do it now. Again, we think we have to find a way to live alongside this situation, this COVID, whatever whatever variant it is, we have to find ways. I think the Israeli government, Israel has been at the forefront of giving the vaccines, the boosters, children being vaccinated. So therefore, we have to find ways to live alongside it in all realms of our lives, and especially in international travel.
All right. Well, certainly this is going to be a trying period in the years ahead, and it's clearly not going to end quite as quickly and as soon as people thought. Stanley Morais, Deputy Director of International Affairs for El Al.